In the desolate, windswept pampas of southern Peru, where the earth is etched with the geometric prayers of a vanished civilization, silence is the only constant. For millennia, the Nazca lines have stared upward at the indifferent stars, demanding an answer to a haunting question. Were they signals to the gods, or landing strips for something else? But in 2017, the silence was shattered, not by a signal from the sky, but by a whisper from the grave. From the dry, preserving dust of the desert emerged figures that defied the taxonomies of biology. Pale, three-fingered entities coated in white dust, mirroring the grave visitors of modern folklore, frozen in stone and desiccated flesh. They stared back at us with wide, hollow orbits, challenging our understanding of human history. The world gasped. Was this the smoking gun? The final, tangible proof that we have never been alone? But as the medical scanners began to hum and the X-rays cut through the mummified tissue, a narrative far more unsettling and far more grotesque began to unravel. This is not a story of visitors from the stars, but of the macabre ingenuity of the living. It is a journey into the uncanny valley of archaeology, where biology is hacked, stone is deceptive, and the dead are repurposed in the name of mystery. When we look into the face of the alien, we are often staring into a mirror, one that reflects our own desperation, our own history, and sometimes our own crimes. To understand the magnitude of the Nazca discovery, one must first understand the atmosphere of the Atacama and Sechura deserts. These are places where time stops. The aridity is absolute. Here, organic matter defies the rot, leaving behind husks that persist for centuries, staring blindly into the future. It was here, in this landscape of preserved death, that the so-called tridactyl mummies were unearthed. They were presented to the world with theatrical flair, small humanoid figures, roughly 60 centimeters tall, possessing elongated skulls and most strikingly, 3 long skeletal fingers on each hand. They were coated in diatomaceous earth, a white, powdery silica that gave them a spectral, otherworldly pallor. The immediate reaction from the fringe communities was ecstatic. Here was the physical evidence of a non-human species preserved in the very cradle of ancient South American mysticism. However, true science is a discipline of patience, not sensation. As these specimens were subjected to the unblinking eye of computed tomography, CT scans, the smooth alien exterior gave way to a chaotic, internal reality. The images that appeared on the monitors of radiologists were not the elegant, evolved skeletons of a distinct species. They were a jumbled nightmare mosaic. The analysis conducted by forensic experts and paleontologists revealed a construction that was less biological and more industrial. The bones within these small figures were indeed ancient, but they were anatomical orphans, displaced, distorted, and deeply wrong. They were a collection of mismatches, a Frankenstein mosaic of archaeological leftovers. Specifically, the skull of one of the smaller specimens, often referred to as Josephina, was identified not as an alien cranium, but as the brain case of a llama. Yet it had been rotated.
The front of the animal's skull had been turned to face backwards, creating the bulbous extraterrestrial profile that so captivated the imagination. The facial features were not grown, they were carved. The mouth was a simple incision into the bone. But the horror of the construction went deeper. The limbs were composed of human bones, but the long bones, the radius, the ulna, the femur, were cut and snapped to fit the scale of the doll. The scans revealed that the joints lacked the necessary articular surfaces to function. There were no capsules, no ligaments that would allow for movement. If this creature had ever lived, it would have been a paralyzed heap of agony, but it never lived. it was assembled. The binding agents holding this ossuary together were not unknown alien polymers, but modern synthetic adhesives and glues, likely mixed with the ancient dust to mask the seams. This was a simulacrum, a fabrication created by looting the graves of the past to feed the hunger of the present. The implications of this are far more disturbing than the existence of aliens. It suggests a desecration of genuine heritage. The bones used were real. They belonged to animals and likely human infants from centuries ago. To create these aliens, the fabricators had to disturb the resting places of the Nazca people and the local fauna, dismantling the biological history of Peru to build a puppet for a modern audience. It is a profound violation of the archaeological record, a biological remix that trades the dignity of the dead for a fleeting moment of viral fame. The alien biology was indeed in stone, or rather encased in the mineral dust of the earth, but the hands that shaped it were undeniably human. Yet the Nazca mummies are not the only artifacts that have blurred the line between human anomaly and extraterrestrial theory. We must travel north to the cavernous mines of Mexico in the 1930s, where a teenage girl reportedly found a skull that would become a legend in ufology circles, the Star Child. For decades, this skull sat in obscurity until it was brought into the light of the late 20th century. To the untrained eye, the Star Child is terrifyingly distinct. It is bulbous, swollen, with eye sockets that are shallow and wide, lacking the brow ridges that characterize the typical human visage. It looks, for all intents and purposes, like the gray alien of pop culture. The skull is lighter, thinner, and harder than average human bone. For years, proponents argued that this was a hybrid, the genetic offspring of a human mother and a star-faring father. The mystery of the Star Child persisted because the visual evidence was so compelling. Our brains are hardwired to recognize the human pattern. When that pattern is distorted, we instinctually categorize it as other. But in 2010, science finally caught up with the legend. A rigorous DNA analysis was conducted, stripping away the mythology to look at the raw code of life. The results were unequivocal. The nuclear DNA, which contains the genetic blueprint from both parents, confirmed that the Star Child was biologically male. More importantly, it was biologically human. Both the X and Y chromosomes were present and accounted for, terrestrial in origin. The mitochondrial DNA, passed down from the mother, was a standard Native American haplogroup. So if not an alien, what was the Star Child? The answer is a tragic diagnosis echoing from the past.
The cranial expansion, the thinning of the bone, the shallowness of the orbits, these are the classic, heartbreaking symptoms of congenital hydrocephalus. This condition, often called water on the brain, causes cerebrospinal fluid to accumulate, pushing the skull outward as the pressure builds. In a time before modern neurosurgery, this child lived with a condition that reshaped his very physiology. He was not a visitor from the Pleiades. He was a sick child, likely cared for by his family until his death, only to have his remains exhumed and paraded as a monster decades later. The alien features were the scars of a disease, misinterpreted by those desperate for magic. Similarly, we must look back to the Nazca region, to the larger mummy known as Maria. Unlike the smaller constructed dolls, Maria was a genuine, intact body. Her elongated skull was not a fabrication, but the result of cranial modification, a cultural practice of the Nazca people involving binding the heads of infants to achieve a specific shape. Carbon-14 dating placed Maria firmly between 245 and 410 AD. She was a woman of the Nazca civilization. Her alien nature was simply a reflection of a culture we did not immediately understand, and a biology we chose to misread. The allure of the impossible is not limited to biological remains. It extends into the geological record, where time itself seems to glitch. We call them OOP arts, out-of-place artifacts.
objects that appear in rock strata where they have no business existing, challenging the linear timeline of human development. One of the most famous examples of this is the London Hammer. Discovered in Texas in the mid-1930s, this object is a visual paradox, an iron hammerhead indistinguishable from a 19th century tool embedded solidly within a limestone concretion. The rock surrounding the hammer was part of a formation traditionally dated to the Cretaceous period, over 100 million years ago. How could a human tool exist in rock that formed when dinosaurs walked the earth? Was this evidence of time travel? Of an advanced ancient civilization erased from history? The visual is striking. The metal is fused with the stone, suggesting they formed together. However, the mystery dissolves when we understand the chemistry of the earth. The rock surrounding the hammer is not a standard sedimentary layer formed over aeons of pressure. It is a line concretion. This is a geological process that can occur with startling rapidity. When iron tools are dropped in limestone-rich, chemically active solutions, such as a mineral spring or a muddy depression, the iron oxidizes. This rust acts as a binding agent, cementing the surrounding lime and sediment around the object. This process does not take millions of years. It can happen in decades. The London Hammer is indeed a 19th century tool, likely dropped by a miner or settler. It fell into a chemical trap, and the earth swallowed it, wrapping it in a stone cocoon. The ancient rock was a modern chemical crust. The hammer is not a traveler through time. It is a victim of rapid geology. A similar story unfolds in the mountains of California with the discovery of the Coso artifact in 1961. Prospectors looking for geodes found a rock that seemed heavy for its size. When they cut it open, they didn't find crystals. They found a cylinder of white porcelain, a ring of copper, and a magnetic steel shaft.
X-rays revealed a complex internal structure. Speculation ran wild. Was it a transmitter from Atlantis? A spark plug from an alien spacecraft that crashed 500,000 years ago? The object was encased in a hard shell of hardened clay and pebbles, seemingly fossilized. It became a staple of forbidden archaeology literature. But the truth, once again, lay in the manufacturing details. Investigators eventually stripped away the rock and rust to reveal the object underneath. It was identified down to the specific make and model. It was a 1920s-era Champion spark plug, specifically a type used in Ford Model Ts or stationary mining engines. The geode was not a geological formation, but a hard-pan concretion, a lump of mud, iron oxide, and pebbles that had cemented around the spark plug as it rusted in the dry, mineral-rich soil of the Coso Range. A piece of mechanical trash, discarded by a miner or a driver in the 1920s, had been transformed by the elements into a mystery object. 50 years of oxidation and accretion had disguised a common engine part as an ancient relic. The alien technology was mass-produced in Detroit. These cases, the Nazca mummies, the Star Child, the London Hammer, the Coso artifact, share a common thread. They occupy the space where our knowledge of the natural world intersects with our desire for the supernatural. They are eerie because they distort the familiar. A human skull that looks like a gray alien, a hammer that looks like a fossil, a mummy that looks like a doll. This distortion triggers a psychological response, a feeling of the uncanny. We are evolutionarily programmed to spot anomalies, to fear the thing that is almost right but slightly wrong. These artifacts exploit that glitch in our perception. But when we peel back the layers of sediment or the layers of dried skin, we find that the truth is often more grounding and sometimes more somber than the fiction. The Nazca mummies reveal a dark market for pseudo-archaeology, where the sanctity of the ancient dead is violated to create hoaxes for the modern living. It forces us to confront the ethics of how we treat indigenous remains. Are they specimens for our amusement, or ancestors deserving of rest?
The Star Child reveals the history of disease and the resilience of the human form under duress. It reminds us that behind every monster of the past was likely a human being suffering from a condition they couldn't understand. The geological artifacts remind us that the Earth is active, chemical, and deceptive. It can wrap our garbage in the guise of antiquity, tricking us into believing in deep time where there is only rust and lime. In the end, the search for alien biology in stone tells us less about extraterrestrials and more about ourselves. We are a species lonely in the cosmos, scanning the horizon and the dirt for a sign that we are part of a larger community. We want the hammer to be from Atlantis. We want the mummy to be from Mars. Because if they are, then the universe is full of magic and possibility. But there is a different kind of magic in the truth. The magic of a DNA molecule that can tell the story of a child who died 1,000 years ago. The magic of chemical reactions that can turn a spark plug into a stone. The magic of the Nazca people who lived, loved, and died in a desert so dry it refused to let them go.
As we stand over these artifacts, looking down at the three-fingered hands and the swollen skulls, we must resist the urge to project our fantasies onto them. We must listen to what the science is actually saying. The silence of the desert is not empty. It is full of data. And that data tells us that the most incredible things found in the stone are not aliens. They are us. Distorted, decayed, repurposed, and misunderstood, but unmistakably, undeniably us. The mystery is not what came down from the stars, but what lies buried beneath our feet, waiting for the light of understanding to wash away the dust of myth. We are the architects of the eerie, the creators of the uncanny, and ultimately, the solvers of our own riddles. If you want to uncover the truth behind history's most unsettling anomalies, subscribe and join us as we peel back the layers of the unknown. The truth is out there, but it's often closer to home than we think.